What's good with you? You too. Look, I never go live. So guess what? You know what that means, right? Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. But y'all know usually on Saturdays, well, y'all might not know. Well, usually on Saturdays or the weekend, I'll go check out, I'll be laying in bed, checking out some Dynasty videos or playing a game. But like, why why do that alone? You know what I'm saying? Why do that alone when I don't mind reacting to videos. So let's react to a video together that I just came across on my timeline. And we got Dynasty buys, best buys in Dynasty. So we're gonna check out his video together since I haven't seen it. And let's go.
So I recently posted what are effectively my top 150 rankings for Dynasty just a couple weeks ago. And when you compare my rankings to Keep Trade Cut's rankings, there are most definitely differences of opinions for some players. And I know Keep Trade Cut isn't necessarily the perfect tool for player values and fair market price, but it is probably the most popular free resource out there. And I know a lot of Dynasty managers use it, if not even swear by it. So let's dive into 10 players that I consider to be the biggest buys in Dynasty based on Keep Trade Cut's rankings. Starting first with the number one buy in probably all of Dynasty fantasy football right now, Dak Prescott.
Four-man rush.
Whoa, 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 whoa. The best buy in all of Dynasty football? Good God. But I do kind of agree. I think Dak is actually easy to acquire, than a lot of other players. He's easy to acquire. I don't think I ever gotten too much pushback anytime I went after Dak. Now, unless you just did, at the end of the day, Dynasty managers are greedy. They are some greedy individuals. So, of course, you're going to have to haggle and go through the initial trades they send back to you, because they're going to send some whack trades back to you, try to get your key assets. But for the most part, Dak is not hard to acquire. And I think Dak gets a bad rep. Probably because whenever you need to depend on him, he screw you over. But if you have three quarterbacks, I think Dak is good to have, because I was high on Dak this past season for redraft, and I got screwed. It is what it is. But that was redraft, Dak. Let's go check out Dak age. Maybe I'm tripping. Let me play the video while I'm going to check out Dak age.
Prescott escapes, rolling, looking, throwing, caught for the touchdown. Guess who?
Right now, Dak is sitting as my Dynasty QB 16, but on Keep Trade Cut, he is currently ranked as the QB 22, which is insane to me. He is behind Tua, Goff, Bryce Young, Trevor Lawrence, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, all of whom I easily rank behind Dak Prescott right now. This time last year, Dak was a top 15 quarterback on Keep Trade Cut, and for whatever reason, has just lost all of this value to now barely be.
Okay, so Dak is 31.5, and the cliff age for me for quarterback is 33. So he's not over the cliff. He's not over the cliff. He has a top Dynasty wide receiver linked to him. They look like they're going to draft the right. I agree. I'm going to go ahead and agree with him. I'm not going to agree with the best in all of Dynasty. I'm not going to go that far, but definitely agree he's a buy.
Being a Dynasty QB2, I just don't understand why he's lost all this value from just one injured season. In fact, if you remove the 2 games that Dak didn't play the whole game, he averaged 17.8 points per game over his 6 full games, which is...
I don't want nobody to forget that. Another season, Dak was set to go off, and he was going off, and he had that big injury. So every time, he's one of them players, every time he's poised to go crazy, he gets injured. So he leaves a bad taste in people's mouths.
Just good for QB 13 last year. He wasn't overly spectacular for fantasy, but statistically, he was still on pace for 4,700 passing yards and 28 touchdowns in those 6 full games. And that was without Brandon Cooks for some games, without any inkling of a run game, so defenses knew that Dak was going to throw 40 times a game. The situation just wasn't super ideal for a high-powered offense, yet he was still putting up big yardage games and throwing for 2+ touchdowns in 4 of those 6 full games played. And I know that everybody's hating on the Brian Schottenheimer hiring, which is understandable given the other options that they could have gone for, and Schotty isn't too inspiring either, but let's not act like this was just horrible for fantasy football. The last time Schottenheimer was calling plays was from 2018 through 2020 with the Seattle Seahawks, when he helped Russell Wilson finish as a top 10 fantasy quarterback all 3 years and a top 6 fantasy quarterback in 2 of those 3 years. Russ threw for 30 or more touchdowns all 3 seasons, threw for 4,100 or more yards twice, even hit 40 passing touchdowns in 2020.
All right. Of course, y'all can go check out his video if y'all want to hear the details, because I'm curious who number 2? Who is by number 2? That's what I'm curious about. I mean, he making a lot of cases look like he's going to talk about the running backs that could go there, looking at that, but I need to see by number 2.
Offers. Now, the other big quarterback value in my rankings compared to keep trade cut is Brock Purdy.
Purdy all day.
I'm not mad at Brock Purdy. Do I really want to go out and buy Brock Purdy? If Brock Purdy is on a team, he haven't been in the league that long. It's probably someone that likes Brock Purdy. Like Brock Purdy, as far as production wise, is always going to be there. I don't know about Brock Purdy. I don't know. I'm on the fence. If you can get Brock Purdy for a legitimate price, if it's inexpensive, sure. If you need a quarterback, but I don't know if Brock Purdy moves the needle that much for me.
Can't find anyone. Sets his feet, throwing end zone for Kittle. Oh, did he come down? He did! Touchdown!
Right now, I have Purdy sitting at QB 10 in my rankings, but on Keep Trade Cut, he's valued at QB 16 behind the 5 starting rookies from last year, plus CJ Stroud still, Kyler Murray, and Jordan Love. Now, the reason that I'm higher on Purdy is because he has shown me basically 2 identical seasons of really, really good production, despite nearly completely different situations for the San Francisco 49ers. In 2023, everything was great. Christian McCaffrey was healthy all year. Debo and Ayuk were healthy and good. Kittle was good. Everything worked as it was supposed to, and that led to Brock Purdy finishing with almost 4,300 passing yards, 31 passing touchdowns as a top 8 fantasy quarterback. 2024 was, of course, a different story. No Christian McCaffrey basically all year. Really no Brandon Ayuk all year either. Really no Debo Samuel for much of the year. Even though he was there physically, he really didn't do all that much. Even their first-round pick, Ricky Pearsall, was hurt to start the year and then didn't do anything until week 17. So Purdy was throwing to really just George Kittle and Jawan Jennings, and in 15 games played, was on pace to finish the year with 4,300 yards and 23 touchdowns, which I consider to be a phenomenal season given everything that happened to San Fran this year.
I get it. So you're basically buying on the 49ers dip. If you believe in the 49ers, if you believe they're going to bounce back, then this is definitely a buy because, 2 things. It could be 2 different tales. This is the dip. This was a bad year for the 49ers, or this is the beginning of the fall of the 49ers. Now, if this is the beginning of the fall of the 49ers, yeah, it's going to be tough sledding if you buy Brock Purdy. But hopefully this is just was this a bad year for the 49ers, and they can get back to, being a high caliber offense in the league.
Year. He still averaged 8.5 yards per attempt. His completion percentage was still sitting pretty at 66%. He averaged almost 260 passing yards per game through the same interception percentage as in 2023 too. He just didn't throw as many touchdowns. He paced for 8 fewer scores than he threw in 2023, which again, I think is actually kind of impressive considering the weapons that he didn't have in 2024 compared to 2023 and how inefficient their run game was as well. And guess what? Purdy ended the year as the QB 10 in points per game. He's now posted back-to-back top 10 finishes at the position in very different seasons, very different situations, yet He is the QB 16 in Dynasty. I understand he is not flashy. He still has the stink of being Mr. Irrelevant and how he rose to relevance in the starting job in San Francisco, and still has kind of the stink of being a system quarterback as well. But assuming that he stays in San Francisco, then guys, I mean, he's in the system. It doesn't matter if he's a system quarterback if he's not leaving the system. Christian McCaffrey is going to be back this year. Ayuk will be back this year. Kittle and Jennings are still there under contract. Purcell is entering year 2 in the NFL and ideally gets a full healthy offseason where he's not getting shot and injured.
All right, let's go to the third quarterback. I guess you won me over. It's all about if you believe in the 49ers offense. If you believe they're going to bounce back, which I have no choice but to believe because I'm a Shanahan fan, then Purdy has definitely got to be about. Let's see who we got for number 3.
Purdy. Then the final quarterback that apparently I think is a value when comparing my rankings to keep trade cut is actually Anthony Richardson.
Richardson slips. Now he's airing it out.
Woo! Now this one right here. I'll let everybody know I am going to draft Anthony Richardson and redraft because his value is going to be way down. But in Dynasty, this is a big ballsy move. It's a big ballsy move. So I'm going to have to let him explain to you why he buying. Convince me. Yeah.
Deep down the field for Pierce. Pierce, touchdown!
Now, Richardson is the QB 23 on keep trade cut, one spot behind Dak Prescott. But I have him at QB 18 for really no other reason than just absolute pure upside. I don't even consider myself an Anthony Richardson fan, but if you can get him at QB 23 prices, I am all for it as your QB 3 for bye weeks and injuries, but with the room to grow into that quarterback that many people still want him to be. And I do believe that upside.
Whoa, you just seen that? That boy was right next to Donald on QB 23 and QB 24. For some reason, if you go out and try to buy, I don't think the owner gonna let him go that easily. And who knows? I may be wrong, but this is definitely the time to go get him while you got some draft picks. Even though I hate trade draft picks around this time of year, unless you getting the cornerstone asset. But might be the time of year to go get him if you can get him for a reasonable price. If some kind of way you can get him for Sam Darnold and Prescott prices, and he's lodged between them two, yeah, I can work with that. But it'd be one thing when you hear one of these content creators say, go get this guy. And then there's another story when it's time to trying to haggle with your league mate.
Absolute pure upside. I don't even consider myself an Anthony Richardson fan, but if you can get him at QB 23 prices, I am all for it as your QB 3 for bye weeks and injuries, but with the room to grow into that quarterback that many people still want him to be. And I do believe that upside is still there because after returning in week 11 from injury last year, Richardson averaged 20 points per game as the QB 10 over that final stretch of the season, including 3 games over 21 points and only 1 game under 15. And it's really all just because of the rushing numbers. He averaged 50 yards per game, 1 rushing touchdown per game during that stretch, which is a 17-game pace of 900 rushing yards and 17 touchdowns. I mean, that's really all Richardson is and has been in the NFL. But if he's going to keep his job as a starter and be doing this on the ground, that's worth it in and of itself on an upside shot at essentially QB3 prices. And then, of course, there's all the what ifs still surrounding Anthony Richardson. Reports are right now that he's working with mechanics coach Chris Hess, who's basically fully credited for fixing Josh Allen before his huge year 3 breakout. So what if this mechanics coach also fixes Anthony Richardson, and now we get legitimate passing production to go along with the rushing, kind of like Josh Allen. There's also the what if the Colts add more weapons for Richardson to throw to. Michael Pittman and Josh Downs are fine, but neither are really truly alpha wide receivers at the NFL level. Plus, Richardson has had 0 help from a friendly check down tight end. So imagine if the Colts leave the NFL draft with, say, Tyler Warren and Jalen Royals, or Trey Harris and Elijah Arroyo. Whatever the combination may be after the draft.
I've been seeing TJ Warren mocked to them a lot, but I mean, he needs to get the ball to him. I mean, guess what? I don't think you can blame all the pass catches in Indy. He needs to be able to throw the ball to their hands in their vicinity to have catchable balls, damn it.
Colts could pull something like that to further help Richardson. Again, kind of like the Bills did with Josh Allen, or even the Eagles did with Jalen Hurts under Shane Steichen. But really, the third and final what if is kind of the most important. What if he can just stay healthy? Obviously, none of his mechanic work or weapons added mean anything if Anthony Richardson continues to get hurt. So if he can stay healthy on that right now.
Let's go to 4 because I'm pretty sure. I think Richardson gonna stay. He's a big boy. Like, unless you just putting yourself out there recklessly, he should be fine in that appointment.
Now, moving on to running backs, it is kind of hard to advise buying cheap running backs right now because so much can still happen that can just bomb projected starters' values in free agency or really the NFL draft this year with how many good rookies there are. But I feel confident in both of these guys as 2025 starters going cheaper than where I would value them. The first being the easiest one to argue for in Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara, room to roll. Alvin Kamara.
I would say this is price dependent. Definitely price dependent. This is someone else I've been on drafting in underdog league, so I hit him every time in the fifth round. He's still set up to give you fantasy points. The only thing I'm worried about if the team trash. Will it get shut down early? Because that's what happened for me in a lot of leagues this past season. He was doing his thing while he was there, but he got shut down early in the season. So that means for my championship, I ain't have him. For the game before the championship, I don't think I had him either. I can't remember now. But he was shut down when I needed him the most. Those leagues I had him in, thank God I was able to find someone else and replace him and still win the league. But that's the thing you got to worry about. This might be the type of player you definitely have to get their backup. And even on bad teams, even backups get shut down. Like telling you, like when 49 shut down, hey, you was looking for CMC and you was looking for Mason. Like even the backups get shut down. The starter and backups get shut down. So just know, that's the only caveat when you're gonna go buy players on bad teams. Yeah, I hope you can get a very reasonable deal. If I can get Kamara for a second round and maybe a small piece, cool. I don't mind doing that.
Kamara's gonna score, touchdown.
I said the argument for Kamara is simple because it really is. He's old, but he's still just so productive. Since 2021, Kamara has finished as the RB6, RB14, RB3, and RB5. So at worst, he's been a top 15 guy, and at best, he's been a top 6 guy in 3 out of the last 4 years. That is insane. That kind of consistency and predictability is so hard to find at the running back position, especially when it's as elite of production as he's been giving us. Yet he's also constantly undervalued every single year in both Dynasty and Redraft, probably due to age, maybe a little bit of boredom.
Oh, man. I wish I would have been doing my predictive badges like a while ago. Like I said, I've been doing a predictive badges thing for like the last 3 years. And, now I'm able to, kind of see which ones are more valuable. And there's only one player and that I know have earned the Golden Glove badge 2 different years, and that's Kamara. It was an easy, buy because the Golden Gloves badge is, that's an S tier badge. That's why I've been pulling the trigger on Cam Scatterboo. Now I don't know what kind of draft capital he's going to get. He might only get drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, but I know he's going to be relevant at least 1 year in Dynasty. I mean, in fantasy, he's going to be relevant at least 1 year, if not more. I don't care if this man go run a 4.7. Watch, he will find his way to relevancy. But for Kamara to earn 2 years, hey, he been killing the game ever since he came in the league.
Boredom too at this point, just because how long can he keep playing like this that he just can't keep being so good? Yet here he is being elite every single year. Right now on Keep Trade Cut, he's the RB22 behind David Montgomery, Joe Mixon, Tyrone Tracy, Brian Robinson, Isaiah Pacheco, and even Zach Charbonnet for whatever reason. He's only 2 spots ahead of Trey Benson, 3 ahead of Travis Etienne.
I wish I had more Tracy. If I had Tracy, I would trade them right now for Kamara. Not even questioning. Tracy is in danger of being replaced. Trade that man now if you got him. You got Pacheco, Tracy. Trade them away. That's not even a question.
And 4 spots ahead of J.K. Dobbins. And especially when you compare his RB22 value to Derrick Henry's value at RB13, who only averaged 0.8 more points per game than Alvin Kamara this year, and is also practically 2 years older, you really start to understand just how insane Kamara being at RB22 really is. This is honestly one of the easiest ways that you, as a contender, can add extra value to your roster, while also not losing any production at all, perhaps even gaining production on your roster. If you have Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, even guys like Kenneth Walker, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard, if you can trade those guys for Alvin Kamara plus, I mean, I just find that kind of insane. I don't really care about age at the running back position. I just want points and production if I am contending, especially if you can get something of value on top of Kamara by moving down from one of those running backs, whether that's an extra second or a young upside player like a Cedric Tillman or a Jalen Coker, Rashad Bateman, maybe even Tank Dell right now with his injury and really not looking to play in 2025. Or you add another older guy that will also help you produce in 2025. Guys, easy.
Right.
Now, the other running back that I love buying.
I mean, he was basically saying something you should already know, different ways how to trade. Let's move on.
At his Keep Trade Cut value right now is Ramondre Stevenson.
Stevenson looking for a block. He got a.
I don't know about him, man. I don't know about Stevenson. The 1 year I thought Stevenson was going to kill it, I was just all aboard. He sold me out. Now Stevenson is 26.9 and 25 I think is is the peak year. So he's on a decline. He's not in the best of offensive. I don't know about that. So let's see if he can convince me.
For Myers, and there he goes. Kiss him goodbye. That is a touchdown.
On Keep Trade Cut, Stevenson is valued as the RB33, as essentially the last current starter in the NFL right now, and behind a handful of backups, even like Zach Charbonnet, Trey Benson, Tyjae Spears, Jonathan Brooks, Tank Bigsby, and he's only 1 to 3 spots ahead of Braylon Allen, Jalen Wright, and Blake Corum. And I understand why. His 2024 season was pretty uninspiring, as the Patriots offense just in general was just really, really bad, even after Drake May took over. But there was still a lot of positives for Ramondre that if the offense were to improve in 2025, things could get a lot better for Stevenson for fantasy football. First of all, Ramondre was a workhorse in 2024. From weeks 1 through 16, he averaged 14.5 carries per game and 2.5 receptions per game, totaling 16 touches per game, or 290 touches over a full 17-game season. He was on pace for nearly 1,000 rushing yards, another 200 receiving yards, 9 to 10 total touchdowns. He also averaged 12.7 PPR points per game, which would have...
He threw me off with this. Do 14.5 attempts a game and 2.5 receptions feel like a workhorse? Am I tripping? Am I tripping? I don't feel like no workhorse. And when I'm looking at, look, I'm gonna have to share that. I don't even know. Let's see if I can share that screen, because I was looking at another screen. I was just looking at another screen. There we go. So, you see this? He started off 9.6. Okay. Got potential, wasn't even starting. Then you busted out with 14.7. You got my attention now. So now I'm on heavy. I was like, oh yeah, he about to break out either further. That was on my mind. So in redraft, I'm going after him. And then he gave me 12.1. And I learned my lesson then. I can't fool with you, Stevenson. And then he came back and gave me less than that. He came back and gave me less than that. And I was like, ooh, I really can't mess with you. So I can't agree. It's nothing he can do to sell me unless you gonna tell me he about to get traded to a better situation. There's nothing you gonna do to sell me on this disappointment of a character right here. I just can't do it. I can't get sold out multiple times in my fantasy life by a player. I can't do it. Dang it. Can't do it. So he gonna have to sell me on someone else because it's not gonna be Stevenson. You can have that, my buddy. You can have that one. Let me get back. Let me get back to it.
Have been good for RB21 on the year, ahead of DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle, and Najee Harris. And this was all in what was essentially the worst offense in the entire NFL in 2024. New England was last in the NFL in total passing yards, the only team under 3,000 yards as a team in 2024. They were 31st in passing touchdowns. They were 25th in rushing touchdowns, 31st in total yards, 29th in yards per play, and 28th in percentage of drives ending in a score. The one single positive thing for New England as a team was rushing. They were 13th in rushing yards and yards per carry as a team, partially due to Drake May's mobility, but also largely due to Ramondre Stevenson as well. So the hope is that the Patriots look at their team as a whole and address all of the other major holes in their offense and don't really look at running back because they don't really need to. They signed Ramondre to an extension last year. Gibson still has 2 years left of a 3-year deal that he signed last year, so they don't need to add anyone at the running back position. They pick 4th overall in the draft, so they aren't drafting a running back there. And then 5 of their other 8 draft picks this year are in the 4th round or later, which
I will agree to that. They probably won't add a running back with significant draft capital. That's one thing I agree. That's probably the best thing. But how cheap can you get? I mean, this is not the time of year I like to trade for running backs anyway. But how cheap can you get Stevenson for? Like, it would have to be dirt cheap, like mid-second round prices for me to take on Stevenson. That's how I feel about Stevenson. Ugh.
Doesn't really scare me at all for Ramondre if they draft someone on day 3. And that's not even to mention all the other needs that they have on the team, like offensive line, including both tackles.
That's what they got, plenty of holes. It's a bad team, and it's going to still be bad after the upcoming season.
Wide receiver for sure, edge rusher, D-line, safety, cornerback, you name it, New England probably needs it. So running back should be near the bottom of the list given their monetary investment into the position last year and massive needs everywhere else. So if we assume that Ramondre is still the RB1 this year, the last piece of this is really the coaching hires for New England were absolutely perfect for Ramondre's fantasy value. We all know that Mike Vrabel wants to run the ball, and while Ramondre is certainly no Derrick Henry, he can still get the job done between the tackles and in the receiving game too, to be a 300-plus touch workhorse for the team. New England also brought back Josh McDaniels as their offensive coordinator, who in 2020 and 2021, without Tom Brady, had a double-digit touchdown rusher. In 2020, it was Cam Newton with 12 rushing touchdowns, 10 of which came inside the 5. And in 2021, it was Damian Harris with 15 rushing touchdowns, where again, 10 of them came from inside the 5. And not to mention that Josh Jacobs had 12 rushing touchdowns on 340 carries under Josh McDaniels in 2022 with the Vegas Raiders with Derek Carr at quarterback. So if we can hope.
All right. Are y'all convinced? He ain't convinced me. So if you want to listen to the last minute of that, of course, you can go to his channel and check it out. Let's go to the next buy.
Still can. Now, before we get to the wide receiver position, I want to quickly touch on just 2 cheap tight ends that you could buy. The first being Ramondre's teammate, actually, in Hunter Henry.
Shovel pass here to Henry. Henry up the gut.
Now, the argument for Henry is pretty similar to Ramondre's in that I don't think Henry is going to get replaced as the starting tight end for New England, and his role and production under Josh Daniels before was the best that he's had for fantasy football, with 600 yards and 9 touchdowns in 2021 as the last year that McDaniels was calling plays for New England. And I know that Henry is going to lose target opportunities as this team.
But you would have to get that man, Hunter Henry. You would have to get Hunter Henry extremely so cheap. It's ridiculous because I mean, and that's in the tight end premium league because the man only went over 11 points once in his career, 11 points a game. He did that in 2019. The last 4 years, he's been under 10 points. So, nah, homie.
Team adds more wide receivers. That's an absolute guarantee for sure. But Henry is also not really a PPR guy for fantasy. His value.
Let's go to the next. I don't want to hear from
To the end zone.
Now, as we all know, Gesicki revitalized his career this year with.
Now, I have been drafting Gesicki and Underdog because I don't know if he's gonna get re-signed by the Bengals or he's gonna go to another good offense. You just never know. So you can buy on the uncertainty. And, just in case, you're getting a good price on it, you can buy on the uncertainty.
The Bengals as the really strong third option behind Jamar Chase and T. Higgins that they lost from Tyler Boyd leaving. And Gesicki also had some big games when Higgins was out as the second target on the team. At this moment, I actually expect Gesicki to re-sign in Cincinnati. He said himself that he wants to stay there, and especially with the news that Eric All will miss all of 2025 again, Cincinnati also kind of needs him. There is also the upside that maybe T. Higgins doesn't re-sign and Mike Gesicki does, meaning that Gesicki could find himself.
If I was on the fence, you would have sold me here, homie. I think he made some great points. Eric All, I did hear about his injury being serious enough for him to miss this upcoming season, which is crazy. And I heard that Joe Burrow does want him to come back. He wants everybody back. And if some kind of way T. Higgins leave and Gesicki come back, yeah, sounds like a win.
As a second option on the team, more often than not in 2025, depending on who they add at wide receiver to replace Higgins, or if it's just Andre Yoshivas or Jermaine Burton fighting for that spot. So there is that upside there too for Mike Gesicki. There is also the downside of Cincy being linked to a rookie tight end in the draft, most notably either Colson Loveland or Tyler Warren in the first round. If that happens, then yeah, Gesicki probably wouldn't be that great as the tight end 2 in Cincy. But again, at tight end 31 prices on Keep Trade Cut, he's just a throw-in in a deal that could pay off if the offseason is very kind to him. All right, on to wide receivers. And we're going to start with the player that I actually have the biggest difference in value compared to Keep Trade Cut. Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf.
Wide open. Metcalf. Touchdown. 50.
Metcalf. I don't know if I earn any Metcalf, to be honest with you. He wasn't my type of player that I wanted to draft. I will say that, this was back in the day. This was early in my dynasty career. So it's not like I was great at picking prospects anyway, but he's 27. So 27.1. So this is the cliff year at the 27 year or so. Do you really believe it? I mean, I'm curious how you gonna sell me, because it's not like, I'm not gonna say he does, but the man haven't gave you over 15 points a game except one season back in 2020. The rest has been and I'd be forgetting to share my screen. If I can, I'll be forgetting to share my screen. And when I look at player profile, I mean the man over 15.1 since 2020, 2021, 14.4, 2022, 13.3, 2023, 14.1, 2024, 12.8, and you have the ascension of JSN coming into the offense. So I mean, what is he going to get you? Like, if you've seen what he's been doing the last few years, his ceiling is like around gonna be like 14 and a half points. You can't expect him to jump that. So that's what you're going to buy into. So I don't know what he's being sold for, but if that's what I'm buying, I'm not putting too much into that. If that's what I'm buying, I'm not doing it. But let's see what else can he sell me? This is gonna be one I'm gonna sit back and listen to and see if he can sell me on Metcalf. You know, what you got?
6 yards.
Listen, I understand why Metcalf has lost value. He didn't hit 1,000 yards last year. He only caught 5 touchdowns. He's no longer the wide receiver 1 on the team because that is now JSN. I personally have given up on Metcalf ever being the elite wide receiver that he thought he could be after his breakout 2020 season, but wide receiver 27 on keep trade cut, that is way too low for me. I still have him personally as a top 20 dynasty wide receiver because he's still been very consistent on a yearly basis, and he has that weekly upside to be a fantasy wide receiver 1 any given week. Since 2021, Metcalf has finished as the points per game.
Look, you want to trust Metcalf in best ball. That's a better place for him. If he give you spike weeks, you're able to capture it. But and redraft, I'm not trusting them. And in Dynasty, I'm not buying them. I don't think there's nothing you can tell me to convince me otherwise.
In wide receiver 23, wide receiver 25, wide receiver 22, and then wide receiver 34 this past season. So just from that, I think I can see which season is more of the outlier year for production, and that valuing him at wide receiver 27 is actually under his production in 3 of the last 4 years. In 2024, his down year even, Metcalf was on a 17-game pace of 75 receptions, over 1,100 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. And if you watch Seattle at all during the season, you know that he probably should have been closer to 10 touchdowns or more with how often Geno missed him, or defenders would just blatantly pass interfere with him because he's so much bigger than any cornerback against him. But where I'm most optimistic for Metcalf this year, though, is with the Seahawks hiring of Clint Kubiak as their offensive coordinator. Kubiak, of course, coming from the New Orleans Saints this past year, who looked fantastic to start the year until basically everybody on that team got hurt. But Rashid Shaheed was doing well in that more vertical pass attack with Derek Carr that I also think fits well with DK Metcalf's strengths. But Kubiak was also the offensive coordinator with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota in 2021. So we saw Justin Jefferson operate at an elite level. He was also the passing game coordinator in San Francisco in 2023 with Kyle Shanahan during Brock Purdy's breakout year with Brandon Ayuk having the best season of his career. So I'm hopeful that Kubiak will come in and elevate the...
With all that he just said, makes me want to go and draft more and invest more in JSN. He might get a slight tick, but that just made my brain think about JSN.
Passing offense to where both Metcalf and JSN can operate as great fantasy options simultaneously. And with Metcalf's big playability, plus his red zone work as a big target for Geno Smith, I'm hopeful that we can get Metcalf to be more consistent on a weekly basis and also still have those huge games. Worst case scenario, I think Metcalf is just a fine wide receiver 2, like he's been in 3 of the last 4 years. And that is fine if you're paying wide receiver 27 prices for him. But best case scenario is a top 15 fantasy season as a more later career resurgence, kind of like what we saw from Chris Godwin and Terry McLaurin this year, or even T. Higgins. I would love to move up from Jaden Reed, Jerry Jeudy, Josh Downs, or Khalil Shakir to DK Metcalf by using a second-round pick or a piece like that to upgrade to DK. I'd also explore trading down from Xavier Worthy, Jameson Williams, and Jordan Addison for DK Metcalf Plus. And
I'm not mad at the second and Shakur, even though I'm not with buying. what they just said? This, I'm not trading. I'm not downgrading from Worthy to no damn Mech. I'm not doing that. I like Worthy. I like Reed. Maybe I can understand Alavi if you just afraid of his medical. Definitely understand Judy, who only showed up 1 year. I understand Shakur. Like, I mean, low draft capital. Even though that might not matter by now. But he is in a good offense. I like Josh Downs, so I'm not putting money. I'm not putting extra cheese on a good burger already to go get a ham sandwich. I'm not doing that. So yeah, it's a good chance. I can't agree with him, but maybe this works for you guys.
Apparently, on Keep Trade Cut, people prefer Chris Olave over DK Metcalf too. So I'd love to flip Olave over to DK, possibly get something on top of that as well. Now, the other wide receiver that's valued right behind Metcalf at wide receiver 28 that I love buying right now is DJ Moore.
2nd and 6, back to Moore. Blocker.
All right, my thoughts on DJ Moore. I mean, DJ Moore still got juice, and he can have a good year this year. So I'm not mad at that. Now, DJ Moore, is he 28? I think DJ Moore might be 28. But yeah, he's 27.8. So he'll be 28 by the time the season starts. So that's the only thing you have to worry about. DJ Moore been playing for a while. And it's been more like we didn't get the DJ Moore we've been looking for until he got traded to the Chicago Bears. And then we got some numbers out of DJ Moore. But finally got a really good quarterback that can throw him the ball. So this can definitely be one of them pumped up years for him. So you can be buying on the incline for this. Just I wouldn't pay too much.
DJ Moore weaving up the
And I think a lot of people have loved them DJ Moore for years, so it's gonna be hard to pry him out their hands.
sideline. Moore inside the 10, steps through contact. He's in for a Chicago touchdown.
And it's actually a very similar argument as DK Metcalf. Moore lost value this year because of a down year with a rookie quarterback in a really bad offensive system, with hopefully both of those problems being addressed in 2025 with the hiring of Ben Johnson. We saw what happened to Jackson Smith-Njigba once he was removed from a Shane Waldron offense and the misutilization in that system. And I think the same thing will happen with DJ Moore, who is also just completely misutilized with Shane Waldron in 2024. I mean, we saw it happen to DJ Moore already over the second half of last year. Literally, as soon as Shane Waldron was fired in week 10, Moore's 17-game pace from week 11 on was 123 receptions, 1,200 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. He averaged over 17 PPR points per game as the wide receiver 16, which was actually better than Jackson Smith-Njigba over the second half of the year, and right there with CeeDee Lamb and Drake London. So now in 2025, the hope is that a lot of the offensive struggles that plagued Chicago can start to be addressed. Better play calling, focusing on offensive line improvements, a year 2 Caleb Williams with a better coaching staff around him, no Keenan Allen, so the target share is condensed more between DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. And if DJ Moore can even slide into that Amon-Ra St. Brown role as a PPR plus yak guy in Chicago.
And even though I'm with you buying into DJ Moore, guess who I'm really on? Rome Odunze. I am a Rome Odunze fan. If you able to buy in on him on Dynasty, I don't care if you get disappointed this year. He'll show up next year if he don't show up this year. This is someone that I'm gonna continue to buy into until he smash. Rome Odunze, got a number of my predictive badges that I just can't quit on, and I'm gonna continue to buy into them. Matter of fact, why not buy into this Bears offense? Period. So definitely, I need to target the Bears office in the next few best ball drafts I do, because this should be an offense that should be on the rise.
I mean, that would just be icing on the cake. Like, I'm already expecting DJ Moore to easily outperform his wide receiver 28 KTC value, even if Chicago doesn't drastically improve overnight. I mean, he was already doing so last year to end the season already, but there's also that upside of what if Chicago really improves, and what if DJ Moore sees 150 or 160 targets in 2025, scores 7+ touchdowns again like he did in 2023. Like, that upside is tantalizing at wide receiver 28 prices. I'm looking at these same players to upgrade from as I did with Metcalf, Reed, Judy, Downs, Shakir, Ayuk even.
Look, these are the same players they have for DK Metcalf, and hold up. Now that I'm trying to think about it, did he say DJ Moore is under Metcalf? Because I like DJ Moore more than Metcalf. But I'll be more likely to move these players. I'm not tearing down Worthy, like I said. But I'm more likely to move the other players for DJ Moore. And I'm still a Reed fan. I just feel like something needs to change. Some philosophy needs to change in Green Bay, because Reed has the talent, but for some reason they only play him like limited amount of time. If they start playing the man 80%, 90% of the snaps, the man will go crazy. So I just gotta believe one day somebody go effing figure it out then with the Packers, or he can go somewhere else and do his thing. So I'm not selling Reed, but these other guys I'm willing to let go of them. I like Reed and Worthy though.
Take DJ Moore over DK Metcalf right now too. And again, the same players to downgrade from and get something on top. Worthy, Jameson, Addison, Olave, even Terry McLaurin could be an option as well. DJ Moore feels like such a low-cost bet if you want to get in on the Bears' offense improving this year, especially compared to Rome Odunze, and I love every single minute of it. And the last wide receiver that I love buying right now is Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown.
Backfield, he's got Brown.
Well, guess what? If you can get A.J. Brown, because it's going to take a big boy trade to get A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is 27, like I said, so by the time the season starts, he'll probably be 28. But A.J. Brown, I mean, what? He's still putting up serious numbers. 16.7. Year before that, 17. 17.6 the year before. So he's still, if a person easily giving you over 15 points a game, it's going to take some work to pry them out, the person that owned them hands. Good luck.
A.J. Brown cuts it back, looking for the end zone, inside the 15, inside the 10, he's in!
I mean, statistically speaking, this was A.J. Brown's worst season as an Eagle. He only had 67 receptions, just under 1,100 yards, and 7 touchdowns. But he also missed 4 games as the first time that he's ever been hurt enough to miss games in Philadelphia. So his 17-game pace was actually 88 receptions for over 1,400 yards.
I don't want to hear all that. I need you to tell me how I'm going to get him. How I'm going to be able to get him out, pry him out my league mate hands. That's what I need to know.
You still have 3 more years before he's 30, in which case he might have 3 more 1,400 yard and 9+ touchdown seasons, while all those other younger guys are struggling just to get to 12 and 1,300 yards and like 6 or 7 touchdowns. So take advantage of this depressed value. Now is the time to upgrade your wide receiver 2 from Rome Odunze or Devonta Smith or Zay Flowers and go get A.J. Brown. Package 2 wide receivers together like Chris Olave.
Look, I'll be the first one to you. If you on my channel, if you listen to my channel, you know I'm big on rookie evaluation. I'm big on talent evaluation. I would never say I'm the greatest Dynasty player. That would never be me. Even though I beat some of the people y'all listen to in Dynasty leagues. But I mean, that don't mean nothing to me, because Dynasty about sustaining your team, with a long, through a long period of time. That's what it be about. And the reason I'm saying this is because I don't have the balls to make some of these trades as managers. I'm not trading no damn Oh, he said downgrade. He said downgrade from London or McConkey. Okay, I'm willing to do that. I'm definitely willing to do. Okay, I thought this man was saying trade London and McConkey. Hell no, I was about to say, I'm about to go crazy. Now, he did say pivot from Marvin Harrison. I'm sorry. This is one of my GOAT prospects. I think you should pivot from. I think that's a good, if you're able to do that, you're able to pivot and get something added on. But if it's just a straight up pivot, I don't think I could do it because this is one of the guys, Marvin Harris is one of the guys I just have faith he's going to do his thing eventually. Garrett Wilson, I think he's been more hyped than production. So definitely, if you're able to pivot from him to A.J. Brown, I think that's definitely a winner. T. Higgins, he's not always healthy. And I love me some T. Higgins. So I wouldn't be mad if you pivot. But I will say I love me some T. Higgins. So it's not going to be just easy for me to pivot from him to A.J. Brown. But I definitely want to do it because I love A.J. Brown. Second plus to get A.J. Brown. If you need that production, I'm not mad at it. Second plus, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. These are a lot of players that I like. Like all of these players are big, some serious pieces. This is some big boy trades that's going to be happening, and that's what I said. If you going after AJ Brown, you will bring your hard hat and your lunch pail because you will have some work to do. You have to make a big boy trade. Definitely.
And Xavier Worthy to consolidate your roster, but gaining a massive weekly edge with a top 5 fantasy receiver. Or, like I said, remove the unknownness still of Marvin Harrison or Drake London or Garrett Wilson and the hope that they might break out soon or continue their breakout production, and just go get a guy who's been doing it and will continue to do it in A.J. Brown. And if you guys were interested in how I build out.
So that's about the end of the video. I can't be mad at that. So we went through 10 dynasty buys, and I mean, let me know which ones you believe in, which ones that you like, that you willing to go do whatever. Just give me feedback. But anyway, I'll catch y'all later. I'll have to find some content so I could drop for you guys Monday. Well, we already know what we do Monday. Market Mondays on Monday. So I gotta, go ahead and record that and drop that to you guys. But peace.